Okay, finally going to do a deep dive Vikings free agency preview, talk, whatever comes to my mind. Mostly talk about the moves that they've been making, or that they're probably going to be making when things get official next week, because they got to get under the cap. And I laugh at this because for years I'm told that you can't pay a quarterback anything because it screws up the cap. You have to have a rookie contract quarterback because then your cap is wonderful forever. Well, we've never been in a situation, at least in recent times, where we've had to be, gutting the roster practically the way we are, and the way it certainly looks like we're going to be doing. So there goes that narrative. It's something that's driven me insane for years. Is this talk about you can't pay the quarterback, you got to have the rookie contract quarterback because that's the only way you can build a roster, the only way you can succeed, yada yada yada. And this has been proven completely false quickly. And what's also amusing is, even if J.J. McCarthy had been great in 2025, even if he had been a great quarterback and it was exceeding all of our expectations and hopes and dreams, they still would have had to be gutting the roster, cutting guys, including guys that they just signed last year, cutting starting players, having to do lots of restructuring of deals, potential trades, which I'll get to. All this stuff. It's like it was doomed to fail. I mean, it's even more of a reason that Kwesi deserved to be shown the door. It's just and it's not even like the players themselves that they're getting rid of. It's like, oh, I'm not going to miss most of these guys, but it's just it's a narrative that I've had to hear for years, and it's completely been exposed as complete BS, and I'm kind of happy about that. But so anyway, the Vikings are coming into all this, needing to get, what were they, about 40? Was it 40 million or 60 million? So they were very, very over the cap. And so nothing is official yet. Nothing becomes official, I think, until Monday or something. But Javon Hargrave, they're going to release him probably. Jonathan Allen, they're going to release him probably. So there goes your two big defensive signings that you made last year. Aaron Jones, they're going to be releasing him. I think that's it for the ones that have come out of are very likely released. And so beyond that, there's rumors that Jonathan Grenard is on the trading block. That they might trade him. Also for cap reasons. I mean, as far as the guys they're cutting, like Hargrave and Allen were basically busts. They were. It's weird that Vikings had a very good defense last year, but Hargrave and Allen had very little to do with it. I mean, both were completely outplayed by Jalen Redmond. We've got some young guys in there that probably could at least duplicate the minimal performance of Hargrave and Allen. I was hopeful for those signings. I think Hargrave was the one coming off injury. So they were hoping for a big bounce back from him. It didn't really happen. I guess he's mad. He's posting stuff on social media, mad about being in the Flores system that makes it impossible to succeed as an interior D lineman. Well, Jalen Redmond was doing pretty good. Jalen Redmond might be in line for a nice little contract extension this offseason. they put him on a God, I can never remember all the terms. They put him on some sort of is it exclusive rights tender. So I think it's it's one of those things where I think you can match any offer that another team makes. So I mean, I suppose if somebody wanted, but then I think you get like draft compensation or something. So I'm not gonna miss those guys. Aaron Jones, I mean, he was fine. He was fine for what he was. I think he was much more effective in 24 than in 25. But he's fine. Like, I mean, hell, if you even bring him back on a cheaper deal or something, you could do it. But I don't know. When you get your running backs getting a little older, it becomes dicey. There's a lot of talk that the Vikings are going to try to go get a running back, like a higher end running back. I mean, was it Welker from the Seahawks who won the MVP in the Super Bowl? That's been talked about. But they'll probably go get another running back, or maybe even draft somebody. But again, is KFC going to utilize the running game? Like, I didn't think he didn't even try again. It's been a problem for the whole KOC era. He doesn't seem to ever want to prioritize the run, even in situations where it's very obvious that that's what you should do. So yeah, so as far those are the three guys that are almost for sure gone, just as a flat out release. Good riddance. Ryan Kelly, there's that'll be decided. Either release him or maybe he'll just retire. That was another bad signing. I mean, it was another risk. Guys already had concussions. I think he might have had two. Last season. Like, just for his own health, he should retire. But I don't think the Vikings would even want him back if he does want to play again, because I mean, it's only a matter of time until he has the next concussion, and it's just it's not going to stop. So I mean, he's probably gone. And then the Grenard thing, talking about him being on the trade block. I mean, I would want a lot for him. I wouldn't just give him away. I mean, if you're doing this as a salary dump, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, the advantage of your team last year was the defense. Now, are you going to completely gut it? I mean, I don't think you'd miss Hargrave and Allen too much, but you would miss Jonathan Grenard. They say, well, Dallas Turner's coming. Well, why can't you have Dallas Turner and Jonathan Grenard? Why is that? Why is it either or? But if they trade Grenard, I would want something very, very significant in return. I don't know if he can get a first, probably not. I don't think he's that level of star, but I would definitely want like some pretty high compensation in the draft. I mean, obviously, if they're looking to do stuff like that, they're definitely looking to build up the draft picks. Hopefully, without Kwesi here, that means he maybe can actually draft well this year, but who knows? But they have some options in the defensive front, but I don't. It's like I hate this. You're going to give up Jonathan Grenard in a trade for cap reasons when he could still play. I know he's had some injuries, but I don't like the idea of trading him unless you get a big return. I don't think anyone else is on the trade block really. T.J. Hawkinson, there's been a lot of talk. I mean, going back into last season about, are you going to cut him? Are you going to restructure him? I mean, he's one of the highest paid tight ends in the league, but he hasn't played like one of the highest paid tight ends in the league. Even in 2024 with Darnold, he was not producing at a level that matched his pay. So I think that's an obvious restructure if you can do it. I guess they have done some restructuring of the deals for Justin Jefferson and Christian Darrisaw to save some money. I mean, those are the guys you usually go to because, I mean, you're not getting rid of either of those guys. Although there have been some of this, we have reached the stupid Justin Jefferson trade proposal portion of the offseason where, other teams are like, hey, we're going to give you a bucket of shit and you'll give us Justin Jefferson. Well, that's not going to happen. So, but there will probably be more restructuring I mean, that happens every year. No matter that happens all the time. I mean, sometimes it's not even like about taking money from players. It's just you change the wording, like you give them money as a signing bonus instead of the actual contract. And I'll never understand it. Thankfully, we got Rob Brzezinski in the house to handle all that stuff. I really never have a worry about the cap ultimately getting figured out with him around, but obviously he's got more on his plate this offseason. Yeah, so I mean, there will be other moves. Obviously, we're waiting on Harrison Smith. Is he going to make a decision about his future? Before things get going. I mean, I wouldn't think he's going to play anywhere else than Minnesota if he decides to play again. So I guess you could wait it out a little bit. I think if I don't think anyone would be too opposed to bringing him back. I know there was all the talk, with kind of they were, sending him off the end of last season, and even he's joking about, well, I can't come back now after all this. But I think they would be fine. I think everyone would pretty much be fine with Harrison Smith coming back in if that's the case. Jalen Naylor, we got to figure out what they're going to do with him. I think, because he's in line for a nice little payday. And then are you going to be paying Justin Jefferson and Jalen Naylor, and then still have Jordan Addison around? Are you going to maybe try to do something with Jordan Addison, who's had these off the field things multiple times, and he's going to be coming up for a payday soon? Is he the guy you're going to want to give a lot of money to, because they're not going to be keeping Jefferson, Addison, and Naylor all at a high cost. Personally, I would prioritize Jalen Naylor, because he's not going to cost you probably as much as Addison would, and he's more reliable as just a person than Addison. So that's how I would do it. I would certainly explore trade options for Jordan Addison if that were a possibility. I mean, this would kind of be the off season to do that. So what else we got? What else we got? Other than the big one. I mean, who knows what they're going to be targeting in free agency? Because I assume if you're gutting the defensive front, that's also going to be kind of your focus, but maybe more in the draft. I don't expect this to be an offseason where they're going to be making a lot of big splashes, which leads me into where they will be making their big splash, which is the quarterback position. I was going to do one of these just talking about the quarterback options, like going down the list of all because for a while there we were getting linked to every quarterback who could possibly be available. We were being linked to Kirk, of course. Again, we were being linked to Derek Carr coming out of retirement, maybe, and coming. It was like our Carson Wentz is going to come back. Just down the line. But as it stands now, days before this gets going, it's really, really looking like it's going to be Kyler Murray. Who I guess was like a Vikings fan in his youth. So everyone's a Vikings fan in the youth. Obviously Carson Wentz was, but there was more of like a geographical reason for that. But I guess Kyler Murray was too. I'm certainly open to the idea. Of all the options that are out there, assuming you can't go get like a Joe Burrow, I think that was always like a pipe dream. But of the guys who are going to be available, he's got to be the highest upside guy, because he's still young. He's still young enough. He's not as young like as Darnold was when we signed Darnold, but he's still young enough that he could be if he clicks here, he could be the guy. Like he could be, we don't have to worry about McCarthy anymore. He could be, Kyler Murray could be the guy. Kyler Murray was the number one pick. He's had some success with the Cardinals. Maybe not as much as expected, but, oh, I gotta pause here. Okay, we're back. God, I swear, I need to have a recording studio or something. All right, I was talking about Kyler Murray. I was just starting to get into the Kyler Murray of it all. He's the best. He's the best option if you want to bring in someone who can, who can be the guy for 2026 and maybe beyond. But it's conditional. Like I under different circumstances, maybe with a different head coach, I would probably be more excited about the idea of bringing this guy in. But from what I've seen from Kevin O'Connell to this point, he doesn't seem like a coach who wants to have a quarterback who's mobile. He doesn't seem to want to utilize a quarterback's mobility. Just this past year, look, J.J. McCarthy sucks. I'm not sticking up for J.J. McCarthy at all. But he was not helped by KOC never utilizing the guy's running ability. Like how many designed runs were there all year from McCarthy? Very, very few. You would think that would be obvious to just, it's like, yeah, you want the guy to fine-tune his passing ability, but pick up some first downs on runs and you get more plays. I mean, how many 3-and-outs and shit did the Vikings have this past year with him? It's like, maybe that's different if you run a little more. I still go back a couple years ago. Josh Dobbs comes in here and he is a sensation for 2 weeks, and then that's the end of him running. KOC was like, no more running. We're not going to do any more running from the. You're gonna pass. You're gonna play quarterback strictly from the pocket. We're not going to even roll you out. We're just going to have you right here, and this is where you're going to play quarterback. So if we bring in Kyler Murray, and it certainly sounds like we're going to, KOC has to adapt to him. This cannot be Kyler Murray's going to come in and he's going to adapt to the KOC system. No, KOC is going to have to adapt to Kyler Murray's skill set if you want to get the best out of him. Because if you can get the best out of him, like the best we've seen, that Kyler Murray's been, he's been a very good quarterback. I mean, they haven't had playoff success in Arizona, but I don't think they've had much of a roster over there either. And I forget what the stat was. Their record in games without Kyler Murray in his time there is just absolutely god awful. So he's maybe been propping them up a little bit. I believe he only made the playoffs the one time. There was that I think they got blown out by the Rams. But this wouldn't quite be the same as Darnold. This wouldn't be reclamation project entirely. Frankly, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know why the Cardinals necessarily are getting rid of him. I don't know why, but he's still young enough that he could be the guy if he comes here and clicks. If he come here and KOC really adapts to this guy and lets him use his skill set and his overall passing skills improve under KOC, like we've seen with some other quarterbacks. This absolutely can be a playoff team. I mean, they were almost a playoff team last year with some of the worst quarterback play, cumulative quarterback play that we have ever seen. And this, Murray, you bring in Murray, that really, I think, is going to close the door on McCarthy. There's some of these other guys you could bring in, like Geno Smith was one who was also, I think, getting released. Was talked about as you're not bringing Kyler Murray in as a bridge. I mean, if it ends up that way, then whatever. But you're not bringing Kyler Murray in to just be like a mentor for a year, like you would have if maybe you brought in Geno Smith, or if you brought Kirk back, or if you went and got some other older veteran. No, Murray would be. We're taking a chance that this can be the guy for multiple years and beyond. He's had some injury stuff, but I mean, everybody gets hurt. What the hell? I'll take my chances that Kyler Murray will play more games and finish more games than JJ McCarthy would. But yeah, this would pretty much seal the fate of JJ McCarthy as the guy. But the guy who drafted him is gone, so you're not really tied to him now. I know some people make the argument, well, KOC was just as involved in the McCarthy pick. Maybe he was, and certainly this KOC is going to enter 2026 on the hot seat. I think if they bring in Kyler Murray and it flops and they bomb out of the playoffs, and I think Kevin O'Connell is likely gone. That's why people are like, well, you got to just keep McCarthy and continue to see what you got. The job's on the line. JJ McCarthy has already cost Quasito Clemenza his job, because if this organization believed in JJ McCarthy still, they ain't firing the GM who drafted him. So regardless of the other failures of Quasi's era, they're not into this guy anymore. For all the talk of, well, you gotta have more than 10 stars. Well, when you're that fucking bad, and I know that like people like build up that those couple games at the end of the season as if it was like Joe Flacco's Super Bowl run of quarterback. It's like it was not that impressive. This part where we're like, oh, he's turned the corner. He had one good game and one okay game, and that was it. And the rest he was bad and hurt and didn't finish games. Like if your goal, if they were going to tear this whole thing down, like they're cutting Hargrave, Allen, Jones, if they were going to tear this whole thing down, yeah, then maybe you stick with McCarthy, but they're out on McCarthy, and I think they should be. I don't think they really ever should have been in on McCarthy. The Darnold of it all will be litigated over and over for forever. But this how many years are you going to give to this McCarthy experiment? This isn't a league in which you can just not try just because you want to be nice to a rookie that you drafted, who should not have been drafted where he was. So, but yeah, Kyler Murray, I mean, it's a really high upside move to bring him in. It's not official yet. Maybe I shouldn't talk about Murray this much, but it's a really high upside move to bring in Kyler Murray, because there's nobody else you're going to get to bring in here, barring a massive trade for somebody who could do for you what Kyler Murray could do for you. And I don't think he would flop. I mean, you at worst you would have probably a little better quarterback play than you did last year. So, but I think if he fits, and KOC lets him fit, and KOC kind of adapts himself because he's never done it before, the Vikings could easily be back in the playoffs and competing for a division title. Now, maybe this will all prove to be fake rumors and we won't get him. Maybe we'll go get somebody else. There are other options who are agreeable to me, whether it's an older guy, bridge guy, or even like a younger guy that maybe you could still try something with. But and I think like you bring in Murray, I don't think you're going to get rid of McCarthy. I think you're still going to have him there. Maybe they'll even give him a legitimate shot still to win the job. because the way the thing works out with Murray's contract is, the team that signs him basically doesn't have to pay anything. I mean, they're basically paying like the minimum. A similar situation to, I think that was a Russell Wilson situation a few years back, similar to that. I think that was probably when he went to Pittsburgh, maybe. Now that didn't work out, so maybe it's like, well, it's not gonna work. But I think, and if you're in cap trouble, you don't want to be spending a lot on the QB position at the moment. That also could help you. I mean, I think even beyond like starters, like, are you going to bring in any other quarterbacks? You going to do you even want to deal with Brosmer as your QB3 anymore? Do you want to bring in like a veteran type to even be the QB3? But like I'm not one of these fans who's like, let's just see what McCarthy does, and if we keep losing, then we'll keep losing. No, I don't want to just throw away. I don't want to throw away any more seasons on this fucking guy. I don't want to throw any more seasons away on 9, because I think you kind of threw away this past season, and you threw away Sam Darnold. And look, maybe Sam Darnold just had the flukiest run we'll ever see, but I mean, Darnold's younger than Murray. He could have been your guy. You could have just said pivoted. You could have pivoted off of McCarthy and been like, hey, Sam Darnold's going to be our guy. He's young. He works in this offense. Yeah, it ended very poorly in his season, but maybe that was just he's never been in that spot before, and look what happened. He went to Seattle and he was in the same positions and he was much better. Yes, he had a defense that was a big help. Yes, he had a running game. Well, maybe we could have those things too if we want them. There are worse ideas certainly than bringing in a former number 1 overall pick who has at times looked like a star. And he could be the guy. Maybe this, maybe the lesson learned. We didn't do the right thing with Darnold, but maybe if Murray comes here, succeeds, maybe we've learned our lesson and we commit to him. There's obviously been questions about his work ethic, all the jokes about the video games and all that stuff. I don't know. Maybe getting released is a wake-up call. I've seen some things that are like, some of that stuff with the work ethic and being, playing video games when you're supposed to be studying the playbook or whatever, that he's gotten over that. But I mean, he'd be in position if he comes here, play really well, you're going to get a contract. I mean, even if we do the Darnold thing again, well, then he's going to get a contract somewhere else. But of the options that are realistically available, this is 100%, I think, the right idea. And I love Kirk. Look, a couple weeks ago, I was praying to get Kirk back here, just if nothing else, just to watch the meltdowns from people. But you bring in Kirk, it's a different situation. You bring in Kirk, you're still planning to maybe have McCarthy with a good chance to get the job. That's out. That's out. I think that's a sign too. They don't believe in McCarthy. They just don't, and I don't think they should. So for all the fans who get whiny about it, like, the organization does not believe in him. The organization does not believe in J.J. McCarthy anymore, from what they have seen, and I think they're right. And Kevin O'Connell does not want to have his head coaching career ruined by going with this guy for another year. Now, if they sign Murray, flop out, and he flops, and they don't make the playoffs, he's probably fired anyway. But I think he gives you a much better shot than rolling with another year of hope, of just praying to whatever deity they believe in, that J.J. McCarthy can somehow become a legitimate franchise quarterback, because I don't think he's ever going to be that. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And if they're wrong, then they're wrong. Take our chances. But I'm going almost. I just hit 30 minutes. So yeah, it'll be the splash for free agency this year is going to be whatever they do at quarterback, and maybe this is all for naught, and it won't be Murray. I think it's going to be Murray. Everything seems to be leaning towards Murray. Makes all the sense in the world, but we'll be doing videos for all of the happenings. I'll probably, if something does become official with Murray, like quickly in free agency, I'll probably do another video and just repeat everything I just said. But yeah, I think that's the move. I'm in favor of it. The nostalgia move is bringing Kirk back, but I think that's less practical than when you have a chance to get a player with still the potential of a Kyler Murray and the youth of a Kyler Murray. That's what you got to do, and it sounds like that's what they're going to do. And I hope it works out, and I hope we kick ass next year. So I'm going to stop, but we'll all have some fun watching what happens over the next few weeks.